Gentlemen, today you have before you a wonderful opportunity to meet one of the great explorers of all time. A man who never explored on a ship, never explored by traveling vast quantities over land, but he explored with his mind. For the first time ever, we meet at the Fenn School, Prince Henry the Navigator.
I was worried. I had sent my dear friend Gillian as my houseworker on one of the most perilous journeys known to man. Exactly 2 months ago, I had persuaded Gil to take a journey down the African coast to be the first European to pass Cape Bovador into the land of the unknown. This was a journey that too many had suffered through, and I did not want Gil to suffer the same.
Move your head.
That is why, 28 days ago, I decided to write him a letter to check on the health of him and his crew. He still had not responded. This is what the letter read. Gil, I am not writing you a friendly letter. I am not wasting my ink to tell you how wonderful it is to be in Portugal, and what a great time I'm having.
Prince Henry, could you face us and read from your paper instead of... Thank you.
What a great time I'm having without you, because I will be lying. You must succeed in your journey. It is essential to our fame that you round the Cape. Otherwise, I am not sure their highnesses will sponsor any more of our expeditions. I will go broke and will not live up to my father's fame and fortune. But it isn't just for me either. If you don't round the Cape, people will not recognize you for the great navigator that you are. Do reply if this note is received, and I pray to God that you are alive and well. Best wishes, Henry. I had to wait roughly a month, but 36 days after, I finally received a reply. I was hesitant to open it. The last time he had replied to one of my letters while he was at sea, he had told me he had been blown off course to islands near Portugal, and that he would be returning shortly. Eventually, I brought myself to the task of ripping the seal and resting my eyes upon the page. Henry, thank you for the letter. I feared you had given up on me, that you had already decided that I was bound to fail, and if you did, you were all but correct. A miracle has fallen upon us. I have finally rounded the not so treacherous anymore Cape Bovador. I, Gillianos, will be rich, you and I can explore the unknown on the great African coast. We will be heroes of Portugal. By the time you get this, I will most likely have turned around in the ship and will be returning shortly. Wish me luck upon my return, Gil. Yes, finally a European hero had rounded the long-feared Cape Bovador. Now Portugal will be the absolute leader of expedition, leaving Spain and Britain and other countries in the dust. No one can get in our way now that we had the great Gillianos on our side. Someday, because of Gil and I, Portugal may rule the earth. Gil, I yelled and raced toward him. My friend had finally returned. What had really been days had felt like months and years, and that waiting was finally over. Henry, so good to see you. He rushes towards me. As we finally meet, he lowers his voice and says, now I'm sure we are both able to see each other, but I have good news and I have bad news. Which do you want to hear first? Good news, I reply, always starting from the top and making my way down. Good, because that's what I was going to say anyway. That leaves a large question mark in my head that I want to continue. The good news is that I came home with 98 men. I now have a pretty good idea of what the bad news was going to be. The bad news is that you started with 154. Precisely. One. He shakes his head sadly and looks toward the ground. Juan Gonzalez was a Spanish friend of Gil's who had accompanied him on his journey. He apparently had not survived. I'm sorry, Gil. Do not worry. I have had the same experience too many times. I know. I never should have allowed him to copy letters on his breath as I turned my back. I hear him but pretend not to. Gil, do you mind spending some time at my home? I have a request to ask of you. Not at all. Follow me then, I say, and he begins going toward my room. Which one do we go? You go to part 4. the house, I open the door and Gil steps inside. He removes his shoes from his feet, and I tell him, "Go in, make yourself comfortable. I'll be in a second." Once he passes the threshold, I race across the street. I knock on the door and yell, "Alfonso, come down." "Coming," he replies. I see him running across the hall into another room and making his way toward the door. Alfonso knew the plan, but this plan would be news to Gil. "Ready?" I ask him. "Ready," he tells me. We strode over toward my home. We hesitate at the door, but then step inside to find Gil sleeping in a chair in my living room. "Gil, wake up." "Huh?" "Gil, I'd like you to meet Alfonso Gonçalves Valdaya. He is a friend of mine from long ago, and he and I have a request to ask of you, Gil, as I mentioned earlier. I wanted to know if you were up for another journey." The entire room is silent as Gil thinks to himself. Finally, he gives a response. "I don't know, Henry. Where will we be heading? Back down south to Bogota. I want you two to go on a journey together and search even farther down the hills." He hesitates. The room is silent. I've crossed everything I can cross, my fingers to hair on my arm for goodbye. I watch as he looks from Alfonso to me, and then back to Alfonso, and finally says, "All right, count me in." "Yes." Alfonso and I scream in unison. We are crying tears of joy, and soon Gil joins in. "We will be famous. The world will know us as the great navigators, perhaps, and we will be wealthy men of the seas." A few days later, I am watching Alfonso and Gil aboard the ship. I am yelling to them and wishing them luck, telling them to be careful until they are on deck and can no longer hear me. But as they start to pull away, the two come and lean over the side of the ship to cheer to the people and assure them they will have a safe journey. I wave farewell to my two good friends. As they wave back at me, I smile, which they return. But as they slowly sail away from the port, my smile is wiped off my face as I think about the danger I have placed these two great people and wonder aloud, what have I done? And the other one. A few days later, Gil returns. He stays in my home until 2 weeks after his arrival, Alfonso returns. We sit around the table and talk about the journey for many hours, about how intense and frightening the journey was, and the places and people they saw, until they both leave to see their families, friends, and anyone who cares about them. And as this is all happening, I am thinking to myself, well done, Henry, well done.
Tell us what you thought was the most important contribution Henry the Navigator made to the exploration.
Probably this one, because he had already tried like 14 times, and like half of those times the people have died, the other half they were too scared to continue. So this was pretty big at the time.
This was getting below the equator?
Yes.
Why was the equator so important?
Well, Cape Bojador, no one had ever passed, and
Do you have a map?
Yes, I have a map. Click this button. And then this button. Go to maps. So this is most of the journeys that Henry sent, the successful ones, and then that's just a map of the world at the time, and that is Ariana's the announcing ship.
He's getting tossed on the seas?
Yep.
So they got around that bulge of Africa there in Western
Yeah,
Africa.
right here is where really no one knew what.
And how far down did they get at the further south?
You mean
Just-
same people?
Yes.
They got down here, so a little bit farther, but not that much.
Okay. So that's Gil? Got that far?
Yes, and the
conquer everybody? Do they like stop on shore? And
Well, no,
Attack.
they were just really, well, Henry founded a school of navigation after he and his father and brothers conquered the Muslim island territory. And really, he just wanted maps and information and wealth. He didn't really stomp on people. That was
I'm a little bit confused about, it's like, how would you send mail to someone who's at sea?
That's.
Exactly.
I don't.
A dove.
You made that up, right?
Yes, I did.
Doesn't make no sense.
So you'd have, maybe they'd meet,
Like, I
they'd meet
understand,
another ship or something like
like, I
that.
understand what you're trying to do.
But what, by the time the ship got there, wouldn't they be farther?
There you go.
A dove.
Or pigeons, something like that.
So they, did he ever work with Vasco da Gama
No, he died
before
that
da Gama?
happened.
Okay. So they never got below the equator.
No, I don't think so.
The equator kind of goes right by that bulge there.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
What happens when I click here? It's like, there's all like,
What was the most interesting thing you learned about him?
Probably that he didn't actually go anywhere, and yet he still made himself famous.
Well, thank you. All right, boys.